In the next few years, we will make or fail to make critical decisions regarding global warming, pollution, and clean technology investments. The purpose of Focus the Nation is to bring communities together to engage in dialogue for the future. In today's forum, the Environmental Coalition has brought forth a panel that was created with the purpose of igniting conversation between all areas of concern to address solutions to the problems of global warming. For many of you, the events leading to the panel, or even your past education, has informed you of global warming and its properties. Although this is an important piece of the conversation, information on global warming is not the goal of the panel. Instead, we are gathered to hear a different perspective on the possible solutions to this crisis. To start with the panelists closest to me, we'll start with Marianne Hitt. First question is, what responsibility do individuals have toward their knowledge about their surrounding environment?
Good evening. Hello? Hello. Hi, everyone. I know you all could be spending your evening a lot of different ways, and I appreciate that you all are here to talk about what is no news to you, I'm sure, one of the biggest environmental safety, health, and public welfare issues that's ever faced humanity. And it's a tough one to tackle, and I think it's interesting that this is the first question. What do we have towards, what responsibility do we all have towards knowledge about our local environment? Ultimately, that's where it all starts, you know, is right here in Blacksburg. It's where you grew up. And I think that's probably for a lot of us, like myself, who have dedicated our lives to trying to deal with environmental problems, what got us interested in it in the first place. From learning about what watershed you're in, learning about what the trees and the animals are that you share your home with. You know, that's the very basic level of kind of learning your ecological address. But it definitely doesn't stop there. I think you also need to know who your members of Congress are. Who is representing you at the state level and at the federal level and making these kind of decisions on your behalf. And especially on environmental issues, to not get overwhelmed, not get daunted by how technical they are, because there's a lot of information out there at all these varying degrees of depth. If you just want to know, okay, what's the difference between the global warming bills, you know, X, Y, and Z, that information is out there. If you just want to know what's the problem with global warming, that information is out there. It's all available to you. And then to take that information and take action, obviously, in your community, for one, and for two, to demand some accountability from the people who represent you politically. I think one of the most inspiring things that I've seen happening all around the country is all of these college students who are greening their campuses. And I think that's a scale where you all can have a huge impact if you can green the purchasing system, if you can green the vehicle fleet, if you can green the efficiency of your buildings. And then that's a powerful leverage point for the rest of the country.
Thank you. I think everybody recognizes that they have responsibility for their own actions. And there's relatively little excuse in today's day and age for ignorance on this issue. We hear it on the media. We see it on every time we click open a web page. We'll see something about global warming and climate change. As far as the responsibility we have as individuals about gaining knowledge about our surrounding environment, I never personally had an issue with this just because I had a natural curiosity about my environment. I enjoyed spending time outdoors, and because of that, I took the initiative to learn a lot on my own. But I do think that it does, at this point in time, it does require, you know, us to take a look at our own personal choices, how and where we live. In Virginia, just one simple statistic that I like to throw out: vehicle miles traveled have increased 3 times the population rate. A lot of this is due because we're commuting longer distances to our place where we live. We're building more homes out in the rural area. We're getting more spread out in our patterns of development. So the responsibility, I feel personally, and this is, I would never put this on anybody else, but when I chose a house, I tried to find one that was relatively energy efficient, that was right in downtown where I was living, that was within easy walking distance from my shops and the stores I like to visit on a regular basis. And, it also means, sacrificing a little bit as well, as far as, what some people call sacrifice I enjoy, walking to the store sometimes instead of driving. I think that as far as, I feel a personal responsibility to educate my family and my friends. And I found very quickly that criticism of their actions does not work, and it's not really a good way to encourage people to change the way they live, change their lifestyle. But by living by example and showing how easy it is for some people to do the right things, and also how sometimes those choices make good economic sense, is a good way to change the course of their actions. And I'll go ahead and stop there.
All right, in terms of individual responsibility and knowledge about your environment, it says it all. It's your environment. You live in it, and everything you do influences it, so you are responsible for knowing about it. That said, we're talking about an issue here that is incredibly multifaceted. Everything you do has an influence, and those influences all add up across all of you. So your responsibility is to know about your environment. There are other responsibilities out there to make sure you have the information available to you. You've got to go to the library, you've got to look it up. You've got to go online, you've got to look it up, however you want to do it. It's other people's responsibility to make sure that information is there for you. But it's also your responsibility to not only learn about your environment, but try and learn about how it interacts with the larger system and how that all works together. When we're talking about the climate system, we're talking about the Earth system. Everything matters. You can't just focus on one thing. There's no one simple thing you can know, no one simple thing for solution, but for starters, not necessarily climate change specific, but you should always know wherever you go. Where does my trash go when it leaves my home? Where does my water start from before it comes into my home? If you know nothing else about your environment, those are two important things for you to know, because those are two of the largest impacts that you as individuals have on the Earth system around you.
Thank you.
So in terms of responsibility, you guys are going to have to excuse me, all these students out there, I have that nasty flu that's going around. So in terms of responsibility, it's not only our personal responsibility and everybody in this room and everybody on this planet, but it's also a responsibility to all of those people that don't have a voice right now. All of our children, our grandchildren, and all of the future generations that are coming after us. The environment is more than just the trees and the water and the mountains. It's the entire planet that we live on. And those are all of the resources that we are dependent on for every single thing that we have in our daily lives. This water bottle, these papers. Everything that we survive on comes from the planet that we live on. And we have the responsibility to educate ourselves on how to live sustainably and use the resources to sustain the quality of life that we need to have right now, but also sustain a quality of life that our children, grandchildren, future generations can have enough resources to have the same quality of life that we have today. They deserve to have their voices heard now, and it's our responsibility to speak up for them.
Good evening. My name is Denny Cochran, and I'm serving as the university's first energy and sustainability coordinator. I want to say just a couple things in regards to responsibility. I think the most important thing to keep in the back of our minds is that we are extremely blessed to live in the greatest, the wealthiest country on this planet. And if nothing else, by being in this position, as privileged as we are, that doesn't come without us doing our part to take care of it. To me, the answer to the question, what responsibility do we individuals have, it's simple. It's to take care of what we've been given, to just use what we need, conserve what we can, and do everything we can across the board to take care of this place, to give it to the people that we have coming behind us. And when you start putting in the children and grandchildren factor, that can get the excitement meter and the concern meter up pretty high.